Hello everyone, it's me, Sephie of Studio Tokki. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm actually going to break down and recap what exactly happened to the best of my abilities during my very first market, my market debut. Oh my god, can you believe I finally debuted? It has been a long time coming, and to be honest, it was insanely tiring for me. It actually gave me flashbacks to how I was like back in uni. All the cramming, all the stress to prepare for my finals. That's exactly how I felt on the way to the market day itself. So I have my notes with me down here. I'm just going to refer to that as I am going to let you guys know the details of what happened during my market day debut. So let's get started. Okay, so I assume you guys have already caught up with all of my market prep videos. If not, then the playlist is somewhere up here, and I will also link it down in the description box below. This market is set in winter. Obviously, during winter, there's a completely different demographic and goods that people are looking for in local markets, should there be local markets that are still active during the season. Most of the time, peak market seasons are happening during spring up to summer, and sometimes even trickles until autumn. And then when it starts to get a little colder, more people don't really want to experience shivering while they're shopping outdoors, because most of these markets do happen outdoors. This was a very big risk for me personally, because I chose to debut during winter in New Zealand, and that was just a choice because I really wanted to just take the plunge, and it seems like the right time for me to actually just jump and run, because prior to this I have been too busy still figuring out what I want to do, figuring out what I can do, making stuff for my friends and gifts for people who have ordered and all of that stuff. Now I've decided that I've had time to make enough goods to participate in a local market. Anyway, so let's talk about the night before my market. I know I did record footage of that as I was already panicking because I was insanely stressed out, but I could only record up to a certain point, and I think I stopped documenting my feelings after that because I was just really in the headspace of like, I need to get this done. I'm sorry, I don't think I can actually take the time to set up my camera, set up my phone, and record as I went. I really got to that point where I couldn't afford anything anymore to take a break and all of that. It wasn't really healthy. That's the main thing that I wanted to discuss. It's not healthy to put yourself in that kind of situation, and I now know that I can end up putting myself in that kind of situation, and I should be more aware of it moving forward. I do advise you guys to not really get ahead of yourself, because that was my main mistake, that I have a tendency personally to just get in my head. And it's kind of ironic because when you see someone else experience that, it's a lot easier for you to just tell them that you need to take a step back. But when you're actually in there yourself in that kind of situation, it's really hard for you to, one, determine that you're actually in that kind of situation, and two, try to actually pull yourself out of that situation that you told yourself you should not be in the first place. In a nutshell, my market experience was actually pretty good, to be honest. It was just the right amount of being whelmed, however you want to call that. I don't even know how to call that, but it was neither underwhelming nor was it overwhelming, and we honestly learned way more than what we expected to learn during the day of the market itself. So we took the opportunity to be able to observe the behavioral patterns and whatnot of everyone who passed by, glanced, was interested in, showed interest in my stall and all of the stuff that I made. Which brings us to the important part of this video. I'm sorry it took this long, but someday I'm going to look back at this, laugh at myself, and be like, why are you so worried about these things? The very least that I would want someone to take out from these videos of mine is to be able to learn from my mistakes, from my feelings. And if you are also experiencing these kinds of feelings and whatnot, you're thinking the way that I'm thinking as well, I reassure you, everything is going to be a-okay, and you just really need to step back from your work, like really step back from your work reassess yourself and don't ever feel like you need to stress yourself to achieve a certain thing, because at the end of the day, you did all you can. And as long as you can guarantee that you have done everything you can, everything else is definitely going to fall into place. I still am in the process of being able to remind myself of that every now and then, but it is a learning process for me as well as I go about this journey of mine. So, the $1,000,000 question. What did I learn in my first market? Actually, I have 5. The first thing that I learned was to lower expectations. The less you expect, the less emotional investment you'll have, and the less you will be hurting. I expected so much from myself in the process of preparing for this very first market of mine, mainly because I was so proud and prideful that I don't really want to make a big mistake. I was already hesitating joining markets because it was a huge jump for me from selling online, and since I don't really know anyone of my friends or any close acquaintances who can help me or guide me through running a business such as crafting and handmade stuff, I am literally just going about this on my own and figuring things out as best as I can. But sometimes it does feel like I'm alone in going about this. I know there are a lot more other crafters out there who are already like way advanced in their own journeys and have experienced possibly something similar to what I'm already experiencing right now. But at the same time, each person's journey is definitely different from the next person, and we can only learn so much from other people's mistakes, and it will still depend on us as individuals. So pretty much I expected so much from myself because I was already telling myself I can do better than this, even though technically I just needed to understand that this is the best I can do right now, and I have to fully understand that and accept it and be okay with it. There were moments where I did feel like I was getting a little too emotional because I think it was stress on my part, and that was self-inflicted stress. In most cases that I did get stressed, it was because I really was at fault in mismanaging my schedule and my workload and my expectations for myself. I did learn a lot about myself from that. And again, this is still a journey of self-discovery on my part. So even though I am open to learning these things, it still hurts. But at the same time, I'm glad I still had the chance to learn these while it's still early for me in the game. So yeah, very much appreciated that on my part. So the second thing that I learned on market day was people will judge you. And that's okay. Since my husband and I were behind the stall, we could really see everyone who was trying to take a glance from at a distance, or those who actually came up to us and appreciated everything that they saw and even asked me if I was the one who made all of these and if everything was handmade, and even more so amazed when I did say that yes, I did everything. And there were even some people who picked up some of our stuff, looked at it, judged it, speculated whether it was worth buying or paying for that price. That's fine with me. I mean, if you don't agree with my pricing, as long as you're not rude about it and you don't openly criticize my choice for charging such price on these goods that you're not even being forced to buy in the first place, that's fine with me. Just walk away, put down the crocheted item and walk away. You can keep your opinions to yourself. If ever you find a way to create these kinds of things that I'm also creating or other people are also creating and charge a smaller price or a lesser price than what we're currently charging, good on you. It really feels like you're on two sides of the spectrum. One side is definitely going to be people who will judge and judge harshly the way that you price your goods. I stood firm with my prices because these things I spent so much time creating, and I don't want to just undermine my skills, everything that I learned in the process, and undercharge myself because I worked hard for these. I charged so much for me to be able to buy these materials and afford all of these materials that I used to create these lovely goodies. So please just understand, if you don't agree with the pricing that I have or any other people's pricing that they assign for the items that they are selling, it's your prerogative. You're more than welcome to have those feelings. Those are valid, and I don't want to invalidate that. But you don't need to be rude about it. That's it. There were a few people who definitely judged silently, but you could really read it on their faces. And there were also people who didn't really judge openly, but you know, they kept it to themselves, which I appreciated. You all have your prerogatives if you feel like my prices are too high, but I can justify them because I'm the only one who makes my toys or my crochet items by myself, and the materials it costs for me to be able to afford to make these toys or these crochet items, they're not cheap, okay? Yeah, you can get some stuff from the dollar store, $2 store, whatnot, and make crocheted items from there, but the quality is definitely not going to be at par with nicer quality materials made. You have to respect how us crafters are pricing our time, effort, materials, talent, skills, and everything that we have learned and applied in order to make these crocheted goods that you don't necessarily need to buy. I mean, it's already an accomplishment for us to be able to sell those kinds of things that people don't necessarily need, but they just really want to have because they appreciate the time and effort that is put into making these things. I do have to say that I appreciate every single person who actually walked up to my table and was so impressed with everything that I was able to churn out, and were even way more amazed when they found out that I was the only one who made all of the things that I was selling on my table on that day. And yeah, that made me feel very much validated with this decision of me taking up my crochet hook, picking up some yarn, and actually creating everything that I was able to create. Like, that was like a gold star on my part. I'm like, you did good, you did really good. And that was way more than what I expected to receive on the first day of my market. Like, yeah, I expected to be judged, but at the same time, I wasn't really expecting that many people to be so amazed with what I was able to do. Okay, third thing that I learned from market day: don't conform to others' judgment. You do you, and there will always be someone out there who will support you. So I did touch on the subject of my pricing and pricing in general in the crafting community. I priced my goods on a higher end of the spectrum because the time it took me, the cost of the materials, and my effort to be able to make her, let's say the material cost to order yarn internationally, like the plush yarn that is not readily available here in New Zealand, which is ironic. I still have to buy some plush yarn from the likes of Hobby or even Premier online, and those companies are based outside of New Zealand. So anything that is shipped to New Zealand is ridiculously expensive. So for me to have access to those kinds of yarns is a godsend, but at the same time, it's a costly godsend. If I have just this one Tokki available, obviously I'm gonna price her at a very exorbitant price because I worked so freaking hard for her. Look at the size. The yarn that I used is also really expensive. The time it took me to make this is a lot longer than those smaller Tokkis that I made, because this yarn is really hard to work with. So achieving this kind of output aesthetically and the quality of it, obviously you're going to charge a lot more with everything that I have just mentioned. The scarcer the availability of the item, the more expensive it's going to be. It's just basic supply and demand. I actually need to go in a few, and I'm just going to break down the last two things on what I learned from my very first market. Kids may want toys, but the parents need to be convinced. Obviously, kids will only have X amount of budget for them, and most of the time it's not even enough to afford our handmade goods, unfortunately. So it's just something to consider if you are participating in markets that have kids as a target demographic versus parents as a target demographic, because those are two different market demographics. And obviously the parents work hard for the money, but you know, they also have the choice whether or not they would want to spend their money, their hard-earned money, on your goods. So I guess just be open to price accordingly, but don't ever sell yourself out, because you will find someone who is willing to pay X amount for the stuff that you make. So don't compromise. Don't sell yourself short on that. You worked hard for this as well. And the last one is to just have fun with it. If I could do it all over again, I think the only thing I would ever change is my personal anxiety just gets in the way of me being able to actually enjoy the process a lot more. I think I would also do my schedule a lot more realistic than what I originally did for a better experience on my part to prepare for my very first market. So all in all, it was a very good experience for me, to be honest. Like, I don't think I would trade it in for any other experience out there. And yeah, that's it. That's all I've learned major ones that I learned from my very first market. I am going to slip in my best sellers or my most popular items for the day. And I actually have 5. The first 3 are in no particular order, but the last 2 are just really popular that people just kept touching them in the later parts of my market when I've sold the first 2 items on the list. So my most popular item, ironically, is not my favorite item because I'm not really a huge fan of this, but I guess everyone else who went to my market was. The most popular item that I sold was the turtle. Like, everyone who passed by my stall grabs the turtle, looks at the turtle, tells their mommy they want the turtle, but mommy does not want to buy the turtle, so they walk away. And then someone else comes, looks at the turtle, rinse and repeat until someone finally came back to buy his wife the turtle. The second most popular item was the bee, actually. And the bumblebee that I made was a full circle moment for me because back in January of 2021, when I started my crochet journey, right after I finished making my very first original Tokki, my very first amigurumi, outside of Tokki obviously, I tried out Hooked by Robin's pattern and tried to manipulate it and learn how to change the stitches and go about pattern writing on my own from there. So it was a very big full circle moment for me that the very first item that I sold in my market debut was indeed a bumblebee. Now the third most popular item from my market day debut was the whale. I had 2 iterations of the whale. Unfortunately, I guess it was because of the price that I charged it for. No one really bid, but there were so many kids and parents who just really loved touching the whale. It's an eye-opener for me, and I really did want to consider making more color variations for the whale. And now that I've seen how many kids and parents in general have shown appreciation for it, I am definitely going to make more of that in the future. Now the last 2 popular items on my top 5 list are the T-Rexes and the dumpling. People really love the dumpling because of the frills. So if you want to grab the pattern for that, I can link that in the description box below. And obviously the T-Rex is just really cute. I personally could not say that the T-Rex is not cute at all. I wanted to keep the T-Rex for myself, but I think I'll make 2 more color variations for that. And that's it. That's all I've learned. Major ones that I learned from my very first market. I actually really need to go.
Hey everyone! Sephie forgot to do the outro for this video, so I am going to fill in for her today. Yay! So, if you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up. You can show us some appreciation. Comment down below some ideas if you'd like us to make some videos out of those as well. Don't forget to join our Fluffles by subscribing to this channel. Follow us on our social media. It'll be listed down below. And that's it. That's all for me today. I guess I'll see you in my next video.